Hello and welcome to this week's Hobbytime at Healys video. Thank you very much for tuning in. As the title suggests, this week I'm going to be talking about Covid-19 and how it has impacted the hobby world. So get yourself a cuppa and let's dive on in. Now before we dive in, I just want to talk about what this video is going to be and basically they kind of give you the idea of why this video came to mind. So when I talk about this video and how Covid-19 has impacted the hobby world, it's very much a case of I want to talk about how it's impacted this one kind of element of sort of people's lives. It's not downplaying anything at all about what it's done to the rest of the world. That's not at all any intention, and it's basically just to kind of give my perspective on one part of my life, which I always kind of thought was pretty much untouchable, and how actually it's shaken not just myself, but a lot of other people who I've spoken to about this within the community. So I just wanted to kind of set that tone, just to let you know kind of I'm not forgetting about what's happening in the world and what's going on now and what has happened. I'm just talking about how it's impacted this one small element of not just my life, but a lot of hobbyists' lives, and you know, some good and some bad, and trying to basically put a bit of a lighter tone to it, to get people talking and make people open in this chain of communication so we can learn and we can grow as a community. So yeah, so thank you for listening to this part and let's crack on with the video. So when we look at how Covid-19 has impacted the hobby world, I think it kind of divides into three areas. We have the good, because there has been some good that has come from this, in this very unprecedented, strange pandemic situation. The bad, because there's been a lot of bad, and the change. And I think these are three kind of very broad areas that we can drill down what's kind of happened during the pandemic too. I think we've seen a massive influx of new hobbyists and a resurgence of returning hobbyists to the community, which has been wonderful. And we can't knock that, what this entire situation has done for the community. So many people now have gone, well, we're in lockdown for minimum 3 weeks to however long it was for everybody individually, and going, okay, so we're in lockdown, I need something to occupy my time. Hey, I used to really enjoy doing this, let's get back into it. Or the other side of it, where we have brand new hobbyists coming to it because, again, they want something to do, and they've always kind of ummed and ahed, but never really had the time to get into it, and they've done it. And I think that's wonderful, and we really need to celebrate that, and all these people who have come and joined. So some really fantastic good that has come from it. Then we get to the people who were key workers and essential workers, how it kind of impacted them. I myself fall under this category. I still worked throughout the entirety of lockdown. I was very fortunate to be in that position, although it was terrifying, I have to admit. It was freaky, going out and seeing the world kind of empty. But I had that time in the evenings, you know, outside of work, outside of my working hours. I had that time to be able to work on sort of my hobby, which was something I did do. So that's very much, I'm very grateful for that time. However, it wasn't easy. And this is where we kind of segue into the bad. And when we talk about the bad things, a lot's happened in the world. There's a lot of bad and it's still going on now. But looking at it from a hobby perspective, it was the sheer mental drain. Working on your hobby takes a lot out of you in terms of mentally, the concentration, the physical exhaustion people get. Throw work life normal stress on top of it, and sometimes you need a few days to kind of go recharge. Throw a worldwide pandemic on it, wow, that mental exhaustion, it has knocked people clean out of not just the hobby but their lives. You know, people are just, a lot of people haven't coped. You've had people who've buried themselves in the hobby to get through, which has been wonderful, but you've also had people who just don't have that mental strength left to carry on during the pandemic, and that's okay. I don't want people to feel bad for that. I've seen so many people go, oh, I wish I'd have done more with this time, or I wish when I had all that time off I'd have got loads of my hobby done, I'd got through my backlog. Don't feel bad about that. That's really fundamental. Don't get that out of your mind. This is an unprecedented situation that nobody has ever prepped anybody how to deal with, and how you deal with it and how you've dealt with it and still dealing and you've got through, that was what you needed. So don't let people turn around and say to you, when restrictions ease and they come out and people have got brand spanking new armies fully painted to, you know, heavy metal standard because they've spent months and months honing their craft, and you are still haven't done anything. Don't get down annoyed about that, because you got through, and you got through this, and you're still getting through it now. And I really want people to focus on that and remember that. It's something that you really need to do. In terms of my experiences with this, I think I suffered with a lot, and there's a lot within my very close hobby community who've been in the same position, where the social side, losing that ability to see obviously friends and talk about the hobby, and I do my best hobbying when I'm around people within that mentality, because you can bounce ideas off people, you can talk about stuff and things like that, and it's been, that's definitely what gets me through my hobby on a normal day alongside my work life stress. And to not have that support network, it's been hard. It's been very, very hard. I did get deflated. I wasn't interested in picking up my clippers, my paintbrush or anything like that. I probably didn't hobby for the first 6 weeks of the lockdown. Really didn't do anything because I was just kind of fed up. I didn't have that mental energy to get through. And I'm not alone on that. There's so many people out there who have gone through this exact same thing, who are still going through this same thing. Even with restrictions eased, it's not easy to go and meet up with people and get involved in this hobby again. A few areas and groups in the world have managed to do this through social distancing and rigorous PPE and things like that, and are fantastic to you. But a lot of people are still in the position where we can't. But we will get there. And this is where we kind of segue into the adapting, the adaptability section. You've had the good, you've had the bad. Now we talk about the change and how people have adapted. And this, you could easily lump this in with the good category, because I've seen so much positive change. It's been phenomenal. The first thing out there is anybody who's still in these positions of struggling because of not being able to do the hobby for that, so of not being able to have that social interaction with people. The first thing that you guys need to do is set up some form of video chat. Whether this is just one-on-one with a mate, and you basically just sit at your respective hobby desks, you just chat and you hobby and you bounce ideas, to group chats using things like Discord, Skype, Facebook Rooms, Zoom, Google Meets, all these softwares that are available out there. Use these things because it's been a fundamental change that has massively got me back into this mindset where I can see my friends, I can chat with them, I can bounce ideas off people, and personally it gives me that sense of comfort is probably the best way I could describe it. It gives me that sense of comfort and happiness where I can still see people. I mean, it still doesn't solve everything. I mean, my friends, I swear it's the amount of hugs that I'm going to give people when this pandemic is over is going to be bonkers. Like, it's so hard being able to see friends and not being able to show that sort of level of affection you normally do. God, it's so hard. I mean, don't even get me started on how hard it is with your family. That's just another thing entirely. But yeah, the one thing that's definitely got me through is using the social media and everything out there to communicate with people. If you're not up for doing video chats, if there's not something you either have the facility to do or you can't do it, get into those get into forums and things on Reddit, get into Discord chats and groups. There are so many different ways where everyone is meeting in the community, or just digitally, and it's fantastic to see because everybody's still doing it. This community still exists and is actually thriving. It's just not visible because it's digital. Look at, for example, I want to say my fantastic thing is the Hangout and Hobby from Warhammer TV. That has been getting so many people through because they're there and they're visual and they're showing that the hobby can be done digitally and you can still speak to people. Nearly 30,000 people tuned in for the Warhammer preview, and that's a bonkers amount. 30,000 people tuning in. That doesn't count everybody who was obviously in different time zones, who watched it on the reruns, who were at work, things like that. There are so many people out there who are using this environment to carry on and keep the community going. Go out there, get involved in them. It's well worth doing. And then when we talk about sort of adaptability as well, again from my own personal experience, I kind of almost had to relearn how to hobby, which sounds really weird, but I very rarely hobbied on my own. So having that time where I need to sit and hobby on my own, and I can't turn to my friends in the local independent store or my local Warhammer store and speak to them and go, oh, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Was really hard. And it was a very unusual situation, trying to relearn how to hobby. But I know, after speaking to a few people now that we're doing all this digital meetups and things, everybody else was in that same position. They found it really hard to kind of hobby on their own because you would either not have the motivation to get through, or you'd completely smash through it and just kind of go, it's not that level of satisfaction when I can't turn around and say to my mate, hey, have you seen this model? Doesn't this look great? So if you find yourself you are still in that position where you're kind of struggling, digital ways, digital forums and video chats are the way to go. For me personally, I think they're a fundamental asset to get yourself back out there. And then we talk about playing games. I still have yet to have my first game of Ninth, which is awful, like I just want to play. But there are loads of places out there where you can do this, again, either digitally through things like Tabletop Simulator, or more and more independent venues with the space are opening up and having socially distant meetups. So have a look at what's available in your area and kind of get back out there as long as it is safe to do so. And trust me when I turn around and say, I've spoken to so many people who have had these stores open up near them who say that, you know, going out with your gloves and your mask on and some hand sanitizer nearby is just 3 extra things to pack in your bag to go and throw dice and enjoy your hobby. And it's exactly the same. You have that wonderful enjoyment out of it. You can still play your games. It doesn't hinder you. So yeah, trust me, get out there and do it as long as it's safe to do so. Check out your local independent stores and see what they've got going. And that's pretty much it. I don't really have much more to kind of talk about this. I want to know what you guys have been doing, how it's impacted you from a hobby perspective, and how if it's been beneficial because you've had loads of time. Has it reinvigorated you? Has it knocked you back? What have you done to get yourself back up? And, you know, talk about it. Hit me up in the comments. Seriously, I want to know what you guys have been doing. So thank you very much for watching. If you are finding yourself kind of really wanted to get involved in that kind of video chatting with people and that, check out our Twitch stream on Sundays. We do a hangout and hobby from 1 PM onwards, and it's great. We have people in the chat who love to talk about the hobby, and we kind of keep things fun and lighthearted. So definitely come and check it out if you can. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. And remember, folks, stay safe out there and be positive and be an ambassador for your hobby. Bye-bye.